My name is Verity. I'm 28 years old, and if you saw me today, you'd think I had it all. A penthouse apartment overlooking the city, a wardrobe most women would kill for, and a position of power in a multi-billion-dollar company. But life wasn't always a glittering tableau. There was a time, not so long ago, when my world crumbled into a million pieces, leaving me with nothing but the bitter taste of betrayal and the searing pain of a broken heart. That was the moment everything changed. The day Ethan Thorne walked away, leaving me for a woman he deemed more suitable. He thought he was escaping a burden, a past he no longer desired. What he didn't realize was that he was forging a queen. My pain, his regret, it became the foundation of my empire. Now, he lives to please me, a puppet on strings I hold, a constant reminder of how far I've come. If you've ever felt discarded, underestimated, or heartbroken, then you understand the quiet fire that ignited within me. Stay with me, and let me tell you how his regret became my crown. Hit that subscribe button, and let's unravel this story together. It was a Tuesday afternoon, a day that should have been ordinary, but instead became the permanent scar on my timeline. The aroma of Ethan's favorite coffee still lingered in our shared apartment, a cruel mockery of the life we'd built. We had plans, dreams whispered in the dark, promises etched into the very fabric of our existence. He was my world, and I, naive and blindly in love, believed I was his. He stood by the window, his back to me, the city sprawling beneath him like a confession of his impending treachery. "Verity," he'd begun, his voice devoid of the usual warmth, replaced with a chilling detachment. "This isn't working." My breath hitched. The words were a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. I remember the dizzying sensation, the way the room tilted, threatening to swallow me whole. He turned then, his eyes, once pools of affection, now cold and distant. He spoke of ambition, of different paths, of a future he envisioned without me. He spoke of Seraphina Dubois, a woman of pedigree and connections, someone who could elevate his burgeoning career in ways I, a budding architect, never could. I stood there, utterly exposed, my heart not just broken but pulverized. He walked out, taking with him not just my future, but the very essence of who I thought I was. The silence that followed his departure was deafening, a stark contrast to the cacophony of my shattering world. A chill settled in the air, mirroring the cold emptiness in my chest. The familiar warmth of our home became a bitter reminder of what was lost. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to hold the pieces together, but it was no use. The days that followed Ethan's departure were a blur of tears and self-pity. I existed in a fog, the vibrant colors of life muted to shades of gray. The apartment, once a sanctuary of our love, became a tomb of my grief. Every object, every corner, whispered memories of him, twisting the knife deeper into my already wounded heart. My friends tried to reach me, their voices muffled through the thick veil of my despair. I pushed them away, unable to bear their pity, their well-meaning advice. I wanted to wallow, to drown in the misery he'd inflicted. There were nights I'd stare at the ceiling, the silence punctuated only by my ragged sobs, wondering what I had done wrong. Was I not enough? Was I not smart enough, beautiful enough, ambitious enough? His words, cold and clinical, echoed in my mind. Different paths. It felt like a condemnation, a judgment on my very being. One morning, nearly a month into my self-imposed exile, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. My eyes were swollen, my hair a tangled mess, and my face pale and gaunt. I looked like a ghost of my former self. And in that moment, something shifted. A flicker of defiance, a spark of indignation ignited in the depths of my despair. How dare he? How dare he reduce me to this pathetic shell? He didn't deserve my tears. He didn't deserve my brokenness. He deserved to see the woman he discarded rise from the ashes, stronger and more radiant than ever. It was a slow burn, this new resolve. It wasn't about revenge, not yet. It was about reclaiming myself. I started small. I cleaned the apartment, purging it of his lingering presence. I threw out his clothes, his books, anything that reminded me of him. It was a cleansing ritual, each item a small victory against the tide of my despair. Then I forced myself to eat, to shower, to get dressed. I started going for walks, letting the crisp morning air clear the cobwebs from my mind. I rediscovered my passion for architecture, spending hours sketching new designs, pouring my emotions onto paper. The pain was still there, a dull ache beneath the surface, but it was no longer consuming me. It was fueling me. It was teaching me a brutal, yet invaluable lesson. I was strong. I was resilient. And I would not be defined by the man who broke my heart. This was just the beginning of my transformation, a silent promise to myself that his betrayal would not be my end. It would be my genesis. The whispers of the past began to fade, replaced by a growing hum of determination. The path ahead was still shrouded in uncertainty, but for the first time in a long time, I felt a faint flicker of hope. My transformation wasn't a sudden metamorphosis, but a deliberate, painstaking ascent. I poured every ounce of my resurrected energy into my career. I worked tirelessly, fueled by a relentless ambition that surprised even myself. The late nights, the early mornings, the endless revisions, they were all steps on my ladder to success. My designs, once merely functional, now pulsed with a raw emotion, a depth born from my pain. Clients noticed. My colleagues were impressed. Promotions came swiftly, each one a testament to my newfound drive. I devoured industry journals, attended every seminar, and networked relentlessly. I wasn't just building structures. I was building an impenetrable fortress around my heart. I learned to navigate the cutthroat world of corporate architecture with a quiet fierceness. I learned to speak my mind, to assert my ideas, to command respect. The shy, insecure woman Ethan had left behind was slowly, irrevocably, fading into oblivion. During this period, I met Liam, a brilliant and kind engineer who truly saw me beyond the surface. He became a confidant, a steady presence in my chaotic world. He didn't try to fix me, but he listened, he encouraged, and he believed in me. His unwavering support was a balm to my still healing wounds, a gentle reminder that not all men were like Ethan. I started to trust again, to open myself up cautiously to the possibility of connection. My company, Viridian Designs, flourished. We secured major contracts, our reputation for innovative and sustainable architecture growing with each successful project. The name Verity, once associated with a heartbroken girl, was now synonymous with cutting-edge design and uncompromising quality. I was no longer just an architect. I was an industry leader, a force to be reckoned with. And the irony was, with every success, every award, every magazine feature, a part of me knew that somewhere, Ethan would hear about it. I wasn't doing it for him, not consciously. I was doing it for me, to prove to myself that I was capable of greatness. But the thought, a small, vindictive whisper, was always there. He made a mistake. My empire was growing, and with each brick laid, each contract signed, I felt the satisfying weight of my power settling on my shoulders. The girl who once cried herself to sleep was now building skyscrapers, standing tall and unyielding against the horizon. The landscape of my life shifted, with new peaks emerging where once there were only valleys. The air at the summit was thin, but invigorating, a stark contrast to the suffocating depths I had escaped. The universe, it seems, has a twisted sense of humor. Just when I thought my past was firmly in the rearview mirror, it slammed into me with the force of a head-on collision. It happened at the annual Architects Guild Gala, an event I usually dreaded but felt obligated to attend. I was there as a key speaker, presenting on sustainable urban development, a topic I had poured my heart into. The night was a triumph. My presentation was met with a standing ovation, and I felt a sense of profound accomplishment. As I mingled with colleagues, basking in the glow of success, a familiar voice, one that had haunted my nightmares for years, cut through the celebratory chatter. Verity. I froze. My breath hitched in my throat. I turned slowly, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. And there he was. Ethan Thorne. He looked older, perhaps a little more refined, but the arrogance in his eyes was still unmistakable. He was with Serafina, her arm linked possessively through his. She was beautiful undeniably, with an air of sophisticated elegance. A part of me, the old, insecure part, quailed. But then my resolve kicked in. I straightened my shoulders, a subtle but firm assertion of my newfound strength. Ethan, I replied, my voice cool and even, betraying none of the turmoil raging within me. His eyes, once so dismissive, now held a flicker of surprise, then something akin to awe. He hadn't expected to see this Verity. He had expected the broken girl he'd abandoned. The conversation that followed was an awkward dance of forced pleasantries. He made small talk, tried to gauge my success, his questions thinly veiled attempts to understand how I had transformed. Serafina, too, eyed me with a mixture of curiosity and a hint of concern. It was clear that she knew about me, or at least the version of me Ethan had painted. I maintained a polite distance, answering his questions succinctly, offering nothing more than professional courtesy. I didn't gloat, I didn't show anger. I simply existed as the woman I had become. The contrast between my polished confidence and his almost sheepish demeanor was stark. As the night drew to a close, he approached me again, this time alone. "Verity, I never imagined you'd be here, doing so well." His voice was softer now, tinged with a regret I never thought I'd hear from him. I just smiled, a small, enigmatic smile. The taste of victory was sweet, far sweeter than any tear I had shed for him. This wasn't revenge, not exactly. It was validation. And it felt like the beginning of a whole new chapter, one where the roles were irrevocably reversed. The air crackled with unspoken words, the weight of the past pressing down on the present. Yet, amidst the tension, a newfound power surged within me, promising to reshape the very narrative of our intertwined lives. News travels fast in the corporate world, especially when it involves a rising star like myself and a once prominent CEO like Ethan Thorne. Soon after the gala, whispers began to circulate. My name, once barely a blip on his radar, was now a constant hum in his ears. He started showing up at industry events I was attending, always making an effort to casually bump into me. His approaches grew more direct, more desperate. He'd apologize, subtly at first, then more overtly, for the way he'd treated me. He'd reminisce about our past, twisting memories to make himself seem less cruel, more regretful. It was pathetic and oddly satisfying. Meanwhile, his relationship with Serafina seemed to be unraveling at the seams. I'd overhear hushed arguments, see the strained expressions on their faces. The perfect facade they'd presented to the world was cracking. It became clear that his professional life wasn't as rosy as it once was either. His company was struggling, losing bids to more innovative firms, some of which, ironically, were now my direct competitors. He was losing his edge, his touch. And a part of me, the vengeful part one tried to suppress, reveled in it. He even tried to use professional opportunities to get closer to me. He'd propose collaborations, suggest joint ventures, all under the guise of mutual benefit. I always politely declined, citing scheduling conflicts or differing visions. Each rejection was a quiet affirmation of my power, a demonstration that I was no longer beholden to his whims. I saw the desperation in his eyes, the way his shoulders slumped with each polite refusal. He was realizing, slowly but surely, the magnitude of his mistake. He had thrown away something precious, something he now desperately wanted back, and it was out of his reach. The tables had turned irrevocably. And I, the woman he had dismissed, was now holding all the cards. The unraveling was complete, and the taste of sweet vindication was almost intoxicating. The threads of our shared history twisted and tangled, no longer weaving a narrative of pain, but instead, a tapestry of triumph where my design dominated every stitch. The shift was undeniable. Ethan's pursuit wasn't just about regret anymore. It was about a desperate need for my validation, my approval, even my presence. His company was on the brink, and he needed a lifeline. He needed my lifeline. He started showing up at my office, no longer attempting casual encounters. He'd wait for me, sometimes for hours, just to get a few minutes of my time. He pleaded, he begged, he offered to do anything. Anything. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't about love, or even reconciliation. This was about power. And I held it all. I gave him an ultimatum, a proposition disguised as a rescue mission. I would acquire his company. It was a failing enterprise, but with my team, my vision, and his deep industry knowledge, we could salvage it. The catch? He would report directly to me. He would be my second in command, my most trusted advisor, living and breathing to execute my vision. He would be an employee, beholden to my directives, entirely at my mercy. The look on his face was a mixture of shock, humiliation, and desperate hope. It was a bitter pill to swallow, going from CEO to my subordinate. But he was out of options. He agreed. And so his new purpose was forged, to please me. He became the most diligent, most devoted subordinate I could ask for. He anticipated my needs, executed my commands with unwavering precision, and worked tirelessly to ensure my every whim was met. He lives to please me, not out of affection, but out of a desperate need to redeem himself, to prove his worth, to cling to the last vestiges of his professional life. He sees the results of our collaboration, the revitalization of his old company under my leadership, and a silent understanding passes between us. He recognizes that I am the one who saved him, the one who gave him a purpose when he had none. And I, in turn, see the regret in his eyes, a permanent shadow that follows him, a constant reminder of the queen he forged from his own betrayal. The final threads of the past were woven into the present, creating a new design where purpose and power intertwined, and the echoes of regret now served a new master. Today, Ethan Thorne is an indispensable part of my empire, a testament to the fact that even the deepest betrayals can be transformed into the greatest triumphs. He is a constant presence in my professional life, a shadow of his former self, forever in my debt. He carries the weight of his past actions, a silent burden that shapes his every interaction with me. He lives to please me, meticulously executing my commands, his ambition now entirely tethered to my success. He sees me not just as his boss, but as the woman he irrevocably wronged, the one who rose from the ashes he created. My message is clear. Never let someone else define your worth. Never let a broken heart be the end of your story. Instead, let it be the catalyst for your evolution, the fire that forges your strength. Embrace your pain, learn from it, and transform it into power. Because sometimes, the greatest regret of others can be the very foundation of your reign. Remember, your power lies in your resilience, your ability to rise above, and your unwavering belief in your own capacity for greatness. Don't just survive, thrive. And if you've been inspired by my journey, consider how you can turn your own setbacks into stepping stones. What will you build from the ashes of your past? My journey from heartbroken to queen has been arduous, but every step was worth it. His regret made me his queen, and the crown fits perfectly.